All right, ladies and gentlemen, excited to have our new assistant coach, Eric Wilde, on the podcast. Excited to chat with you. Before we get started, we got to talk about how you did get, I almost said bribed. You didn't get bribed, but you definitely got fooled into this podcast.
I got voluntold.
Yeah, and I was talking about this with Russell and Danny last week, but basically it was somehow someone convinced you that the only way you guys could train at the stadium was that you had to come on this podcast. Like I'm some sort of gatekeeper of the field, which is by far definitely not the case. I don't know there's no gatekeeping involved.
That's what I was told, but I think, I knew that probably wasn't the case.
But I just didn't want you to come into this being like pissed off, like, this is what this guy's making me do. No, I know. Well, welcome to Sacramento. We were talking about it. How long have you actually been in Sacramento now?
Yeah, so moved here just before the season started in January, and it was obviously a bit of a whirlwind trying to get a place and everything settled before the season started, but all settled now. I just mentioned to you, my fiance arrived over the weekend, so starting to really settle down here.
That's good. What's been your impression of the city? Did you have any sort of inclination of what Sacramento was like ahead of time?
No, not really. To be honest, I'd only been to California when I traveled here for other games with previous clubs, but yeah. I've got a brother that lives just outside of San Francisco, so I know he loves it here in the state of California, and he's not too far away. But early impressions of Sacramento, it's been great. Love the city. Kind of explored Midtown, downtown, and nice. A lot of different areas to enjoy.
Has your brother come to a game yet or not yet?
Yeah, he's actually been to 2. So he's made the trip out. So yeah, and he's loved it. The atmosphere there. He's come to a few games when I was at Tampa. He came to some when I was with Minnesota. So he loves the game, but he's definitely been impressed by the atmosphere and the experience at Hart Health Park.
Yeah, so I want to get to know you a little bit better and understand kind of I know your role, but maybe fans with the team don't quite know your role. You are like a major video analyst on steroids as an assistant coach. There was a video that was showed to the office of some certain things you were breaking down tactics. I want to get to understand that and know that and how that works a little bit better. Maybe see if we can use that platform to do some stuff on the TV side, to do some telestrating. We've talked about it, but kind of walk us through how you got into that and where that's kind of led now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I'd go as far as what you make it out to be, but I think first I'd say the way the game's kind of evolved, especially over the last couple of years, and the way coaching's evolved with it, I think really all coaches are doing some sort of analysis. Even Neil's cutting clips and working with the same software that that I use currently, that I have experience with. So it's something that's just become part of general coaching these days. In terms of how I got started with it, I was first kind of exposed to it, just the analysis side, when I was finishing up school at Marquette, and one of the assistant coaches there kind of gave me a little bit of an introduction to that side of the game. And at that time, I didn't really have an idea where that would take me, but kind of with knowledge of that side, I was able to get a role with Ford Madison. In their first season with when they joined USL. Spent 3 years there, and that kind of led me to Tampa. And
there you go. And then so at that point, when you got to Tampa, that's when you got hooked into to Neil, and it seems like you guys have been kind of somewhat hooked in really ever since. Obviously he comes here to Sacramento, gets the head coaching job. How soon after that he found out did he already reach out to you?
So I was aware of him kind of interviewing and having discussions with the club long before he was formally announced, formally accepted the job.
Because you were with him at Barnsley, right?
No, I was not.
You were not? Okay.
That was something that potentially could have developed over time. He kind of just asked me if I would be interested in doing that, but no, it didn't really work out. But while he was at Barnsley, we were constantly in contact about everything. So,
what was it about being on his coaching staff in Tampa that made you want to get back and be on his side again?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to kind of point to things like we see the game in a similar way. The style of play we want to see from the team, what we enjoy watching and coaching and things like that. But I think the biggest thing was just the relationships he has with everyone, from the players to the staff. He's very passionate very demanding and wants the team to do well, but he's also really enjoyable to work with. So I can't pay him a big enough compliment in that sense.
That's great. I think we tied a couple players on. We had Vonner on a couple weeks ago. We had Russ and Danny. They were talking about that Neil's accent is at times tough to hear. I would imagine you've been around him long enough. You know exactly what he means, though, right?
Yeah, I think I've become accustomed to it.
Yeah. I don't think he's difficult to hear. Just to be clear, Neil, if you're watching this, listening, I don't think it's a problem. But no, I thought it was interesting. What was the video analysis like after the second PK game 2? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that. I'm just kidding. Deep breath in of like, how do I don't get fined? No, I'm just kidding. Don't have to answer that. We all know what happened. But I want to ask a little bit. Like I talked to Russ and Danny. We're recording this a week, so it's going to come out next week.
Sure.
But a couple late, unfortunate goals. I told Russ and Danny, I feel like the team's playing really, really well. Just a couple bad breaks. What's been the kind of the talk behind the scenes in the locker room and in the coaches about, how do you deal with, 2 draws that really were on the doorstep of being wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, it's been a challenge for all of us as to what to make of some of those games. I think first and foremost, we expect and want to be better, to have better results than what we've had so far. But at the same time, you look at the Colorado game, and it's easy to point to the 2 late goals, but the reality is when you watch it back, they weren't creating anything. It's not like they were building pressure and Danny was making save after save. Danny had 1 save in the whole game. And then the second penalty, I think the less said the better. But
take those breaks early. Like let that stuff happen early in the season. So at least then you're like law of averages. It's not going to happen late in the season, right?
Yeah, and I think even the goal this past weekend against Louisville, definitely a few minor things we could have done up the pitch a little bit better so that they don't put the ball into the box. But Roro's gone to clear it and it's ricocheted off their player's face. Freddie's on the line, but it just barely goes past him. It's been difficult to really point to specific reason for some of those things. What I would say is, we looked at it after the Tulsa game. So we were 3 games in, the season's a month in, and we were first in the league in expected goals, in shots, in touches in the opposition box, and recoveries in the final third. So 3 metrics that we feel are really important to us and how we want to play. And for us to be at the top of the league in all of those, it's told us we're doing a lot of the right things. It's just the little details, whether it's set pieces, whether it's executing in the boxes either end. I think those are things we're constantly looking to tidy up on and turn what's been 4 largely positive performances, but turn those performances into the results and the 3 points ultimately. When
Neil got hired, you were starting to talk to him. How many Republic games of last year did you watch? And because a lot of the guys were returning, like how much I've seen how hard you work showing up at 1:00 on game days. Nathan and I are usually there, and it's like, oh, Eric's here, and it's out on the pitch. It's 1:00, 6 hours of game time. I would imagine that is just kind of how you are, from what everybody said, but just an impression of you. Say you work extremely hard. I would imagine you went back and watched a lot of film from last year.
Yeah, from like front to back, I probably watched 20 games, but I've probably seen pieces in different periods of every game from last season.
Wow. And were you able to kind of know what players their skill sets are from returners going in? Because then I would imagine that helps in obviously scouting new players too, but you need to know what you have on the returning side too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was part of it, just trying to take in what the squad was like, what do we have available. I think a big group of the squad I was obviously familiar with from being in the league.
Sure.
But you want to get to know them as best you can. But I think you don't really know everything until you're here and you're working with them. Mm-hmm. So we're still learning more about the players every day, and I think that's just something that will continue to get better the more we get to work with them.
Walk me through what it's like to kind of prepare the team from the video side, from scouting to how you guys are going to approach a game. What is that process like, and from for a week-to-week outlook?
Yeah, so I think even before we've played the game on the Saturday, we've started to look ahead to the opponent for the next week, and we won't have like the lineup or specific things already set before we've played on the Saturday, but we're starting in advance so we can start to have an idea of what's going to be important when we come in on Monday. So part of that will obviously be feeding back from the game at the weekend, but we've already got an idea of these are the 3 or 4 things that are going to be really important. So we try to have a lot of that done early in the week. So Tuesday and Wednesday, which are like our most important training days on the field in terms of what we can get in from even from just a physical perspective and how much work we can actually do. So we try to do a meeting before training on both of those days with a little bit of information. So it might be out of possession one day, in possession the next day. It might be a little bit of a mix. But give them that information so they can see it. They can see what potential problems are, what maybe our solutions will be. We can train it, do it again on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday we can even show them video from training, give them a little bit of feedback or extra details, and then hopefully when they show up on Saturday, they feel like they're prepared, they've gotten it in on the field, off the field over the course of the week, and it's not just crammed in the day before the game.
Well, right. I mean, I would imagine that's probably how people they do. They cram the day before. You hear about the other team. So I want to ask too, like, what about when you look back at the most recent game that the Republic played, and you guys look at what you did well, what you didn't do well? How much does that become a part of those key learnings in those video sessions? Yeah,
it's always a balance. I think what I would say is we watch a lot of the opponent. We really study what they do, but our biggest focus is always ourselves and what we want to look like out on the field. So we might tweak things here or there. I think people who have watched really closely may have picked up that we've pressed differently in different games. New Mexico is more of a 4-4-2. Colorado more of a 3-5-2. Now we've used 3-4-3 in the last couple of games. So we do make subtle tweaks, but really the formation and things like that, it's less important than our main principles. How can we bring those out on the game day? Do
you think there's a lot of in the soccer football world, there's like an overemphasis on what's the formation going to be?
Probably, because I think I guess I just used formations there, but
but you even said that's kind of what we did, but it didn't really.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you tried to label our formation, you'd see different things in different parts of the game. So when we have the ball, when we don't have the ball, when we're building up versus when we're attacking high. So to try to label it as one formation probably isn't accurate. But it's easy to call it a formation, and I think everyone kind of gets a general sense of what it is. So it's not wrong to do it that way.
But I just know people are like so heightened. This team runs this. This is their formation. So maybe that's going away. Maybe, and you're talking about the evolution of soccer, and I think you mentioned that how everybody's getting more informed, watching more film. What have you seen as technology advances with some of these tracking softwares? Like, what have you seen in terms of technological advances of what teams are, and you guys even, you don't have to go in fully, but how much it impacts your decisions week to week going into a game?
Yeah, I think with like you said, more technology, more software programs, just different tools, you're able to do more. So whether that's the analysis side, whether that's some of the physical tools like the GPS data that we get and different things like that, you've got more information than ever before. But I think regardless of what level you're at, the key thing is to figure out what is going to make the difference and what are the most important things, because we can go down rabbit holes in different areas, but we've got to always come back to what's going to get us 3 points on the weekend, what's going to make us a better team.
Would you consider yourself a film junkie? Like, do you watch like a lot of film? I mean, give me how many hours a week you watch film. I know you're smiling because I know it's a lot.
Yeah, probably tough to put a number on. I think just between watching the opponent, watching training back, watching our previous games, there's that side of it, preparing from like a tactical or a strategy perspective. But I think the other thing that we're constantly doing is going back and watching just clips of individual players and asking ourselves, can we get a little bit more out of this guy? Can we help that player just improve a little bit in this part of his game? And that's something that you don't maybe see the benefit, the result of it on a week-to-week basis, but over time, I think you'll see some players really, really grow and improve.
When you're watching say a Premier League game, are you in full, like, are you able to enjoy it, or are you watching it for the video, the analysis of, they're interesting, they're doing this, or is that enjoyable to you? Maybe it is. Does it feel like work, I guess?
I think I kind of have to consciously turn that off. Yeah. When there's certain games on, I'll just watch it for the enjoyment of the game. But definitely, I mean, the level of the Premier League these days, there's so much to take from that. And
sure.
I mean, today the Champions League games are on, and the quality of some of those teams is just unbelievable.
Not from Dortmund, but sorry, Don Vonner said he was a big. No, he said he was a Bayern man.
He's actually a Bayern fan.
Played
for Dortmund.
I asked him about that. I'm like, that's a little. Nah, that's concerning. It's concerning. I wanted to ask too about when you what it's like during a match. I know you're obviously monitoring things from a film perspective. Like, are you making what are you looking for during the match to make changes as either in halftime or whenever?
Yeah, I think early on in the game, you're always looking at the opponent to see, are they doing what we expected?
Okay, interesting.
So far this season, I'd say we haven't really been surprised by teams. I think part of that is it's early in the season and everyone's trying to implement their way of playing. Yep. But there will be definitely games this season where we tell the players they're playing a back four and they turn up and they play something completely different. And what we had prepared to do, now we need to just try to help the players on the field. So I think that's early on, and then. Obviously, after halftime, maybe you do another check on that. But then after that, it's just looking at, are things causing us problems, or how can we cause the opponent problems? And it might be just subtle adjustments in a starting position of a player, in a movement with the ball, without the ball. But, we do our best, but it is sometimes difficult to get messages onto the players for sure. So halftime is definitely an important period for us to
make
give
changes.
Feedback.
Yeah. All right, I want to ask about the coaching staff. You got Neil, obviously you've worked with Martine, who's got a lot of great experience. You got Bradley. What's the dynamic like? I know you got Katie, Luke, Andre, Rodrigo. There's a lot of different personalities. Dave Redmond, big personality. I know you guys do those morning staff workouts. Bradley doesn't participate. That's what I've heard, right? Is that all accurate?
That's all accurate. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we'll start there. What's the dynamic like amongst the coaching staff and soccer ops staff?
I think, coming as someone who's kind of come into the club, obviously knew Neil, but everyone else, it was my first time meeting. I think it's been really happy with the dynamic within the staff. Everyone has been great to work with. I think probably the word I would use to describe it is collaborative. Even when we just talk about the coaching staff, like Martine does a lot of video work as well. Yeah. Brad does a lot on the set pieces that he's putting together. And then we're all meeting and reviewing it together. So we each have kind of our specialized areas or areas that we might focus on a little bit more, but there's a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion around the team, and everyone's working together to put the team in the best position we can.
If there was a coach not named Neil to get a yellow card this year, who's it going to be? It's Dave Redmond. Apparently trainers can get yellow cards now.
Yeah, we did see that.
I know. I had a conversation with somebody who was like, can a trainer get a red card? Can a trainer get ejected?
Yeah, I think actually Philadelphia and MLS had that a couple seasons ago. What I'd say is I heard Rodrigo got one last year.
He got one last year.
So he's a potential candidate. I know Neil kind of had a word with him and said, make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm going to have to go with Brad, though.
Okay. All right.
Martine, we've kind of designated Martine to speak to the fourth on occasion, but I think Martine's too calm and collected to
he is calm. Neil's pretty calm and collected, though, too. He's exploded a couple times. In my opinion, totally fair, though. So... but anyway, I was curious. Oh yeah, we did get the trainer yellow card was interesting because I've never seen that before, and I don't know what. I mean, you can just go the rest of the game without a trainer. That's pretty wild. So very, very interesting. You've been in Sacramento. You said a couple months now. You're starting to get acclimated a little bit. You said you've been around in Midtown. Like what are some of the spots you've gotten to hit up and check out?
Yeah, probably not as many as I would like.
Okay.
Before my fiance got here, I didn't go to many places on my own, but we went to Zocalo
Yes.
over the weekend.
Nice.
We love a good Mexican restaurant, so if you have any recommendations.
That would be my one. This is unfortunately it's been my recommendation for people to try on this podcast, and yeah, it's very good. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we loved it, and even like we walked around that kind of area in the afternoon on Sunday, and there seems to be a lot of places for us to try.
Yeah. So I want to ask, what 1 p.m. on a game day is? You get there real early. What are you doing for those? Really, I mean, I guess it's probably 3 to 4 hours really before players start to show up. Is it you're doing that final analysis? What are those things you're starting to do on that day of the game?
I think on game day we're kind of our preparation for that game is done. There might be a couple things to put together just to have up or for the players in the locker room, but game day it's more about just getting in the USL, the MLS is on, kind of relax, watch the games a little bit, and then just kind of those final pieces. And then, like I mentioned before, we're often now thinking ahead to the next week, so potentially the team we're playing the following week is on TV, and we can start to look at them.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder, there's a lot of teams in the league, and now you have Open Cup, you got Jägermeister Cup. Like, there's a lot more teams to scout than normal, just a league game. How much are you able to? We got El Farolito next week. Then you got, what do we have? Open Cup coming up, or I'm sorry, Jägermeister Cup coming up, and next Saturday, a couple Saturdays from now. How are you able to track all these teams? Some of the game feeds might not be as clean and as good. So how do you try and manage those things?
Yeah, just trying to stay on top of it early. I think the weeks where we play Wednesday, Saturday are obviously more difficult, and sometimes you just have to say we can't watch as much of those teams in those weeks. But like I said, it's regardless of the opponent, the most important thing is how we play and how we bring out the things that we want to see. Our principles are, the things that we work on in training every day. So, the biggest focus is always that.
You coached at Tampa, Minnesota. You mentioned what is, I guess, your expectations of the Sacramento fans at Heart Health Park on Saturday? How have they lived up to it, or I would assume lived up to it? Yeah.
The atmosphere has been great. I obviously was with Tampa for a couple of years, but we'd never played
here, yeah.
Heart Health Park. So my first experience has been this season, and you can see why the players enjoy playing here so much. Just the numbers, but also the passion for the team. Mm-hmm. I think even the preseason game against Ventura County, to be able to meet several fans after the game as part of the team event, you can just feel the passion that they have for the team and how much they care. So it's always extra motivation, I think, during the 90 minutes on game day, but even throughout the week when you've got that to look forward to, it's definitely something special about this club.
I love it. I feel like that's a good place to end. Thank you for coming in and doing this. I know you originally didn't want to, but I feel like I may have won you over. I feel like I won you over enough to where you'd be willing to come back.
Oh, definitely willing to come back.
Yes.
Enjoyed the conversation.
All right. I appreciate it. Well, Eric Wilde, assistant coach, thank you so much. I appreciate you talking to us about the video sides too, because I mean that's so fascinating to me, and it's just really, really interesting to see how that has changed and developed under your tenure here. It's only been a couple months, but appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.